Look at me, take a picture, it'll last longer. The mirror on the wall say I'm getting stronger. Ayo, the mirror don't lie. Ayo, the mirror don't lie. Look at me, take a picture, it'll last longer. The mirror on the wall say I'm getting stronger. Ayo, the mirror don't lie. If you want the truth, don't close your eyes. We got our back against the wall, we gotta fight back. I need a theme song, this the right track. I ain't got no cape or no superpowers, just confidence and self-esteem, the world is ours. I believed in me when nobody didn't. This ain't no freestyle, just some facts that's written. Come on, let's hear it for the boy. He bringing pain at the same time, joy. I bob and weave through the crowd, so untouchable. At first they hate, then they loving you. It's a crazy cycle, but I'm going through it. I wish I was lying, that's why I show and prove it. I'm destined to be one of the best to do it. I ain't saying I'm the GOAT, but I'm closer to it. I should get a statue in the front yard. Man, I'm shooting up my stats like a shooting guard. Look at me, take a picture, it'll last longer. The mirror on the wall say I'm getting stronger. Ayo, the mirror don't lie. Ayo, the mirror don't lie. Look at me, take a picture, it'll last longer. The mirror on the wall say I'm getting stronger. Ayo, the mirror don't lie. If you want the truth, don't close your eyes. I'll give it to you in 3D or even play by play. I'm your guest announcer, are you here today? Yo, let me get a show of hands if you rockin' with me. Ain't no stopping us now, we bout to bounce quickly. I'm about to start a movement, put your fist up. Everything all black from the wrist up, yeah. Leather gloves, no prints, what? We about to dip, deep cut, yeah. Now bring it back like a boomerang. Who that man? Do that thing, coming through like Buddha Bang. Setting booby traps for girls and goofy cats. Hog tied and handcuffed through in the back. Zip locked and sealed up and tossed away. I don't know about your future, but it's bad today. I'm a prophet and a guru and the rap police. You in the belly of the beats, masterpiece. Look at me, take a picture, it'll last longer. The mirror on the wall say I'm getting stronger. Ayo, the mirror don't lie. Ayo, the mirror don't lie. Look at me, take a picture, it'll last longer. The mirror on the wall say I'm getting stronger. Ayo, the mirror don't lie. If you want the truth, don't close your eyes.
special thing in store. The light bulb inside my head says, get out and play, 'cause you never feel this way. It's my lucky day. It's my lucky day. It's my lucky day. My lucky day. Don't need a pot of gold, a rabbit's foot or to be told. It's my lucky day. It's my lucky day. Slept in 'cause I don't care, and didn't make the bed. Sip coffee on my couch, what can I do instead? No work, it's only fun, 'cause it's all okay, 'cause you never feel this way. It's my lucky day. It's my lucky day. It's my lucky day. My lucky day. Don't need a pot of gold, a rabbit's foot or to be told. It's my lucky day. It's my lucky day. It's my lucky day. It's my lucky day. Don't need a pot of gold, a rabbit's foot or to be told. It's my lucky day. It's my lucky day. It's my lucky day. Don't need a pot of gold, a rabbit's foot or to be told. It's my lucky day. It's my lucky day.
Hey, I got a confession. Been losing all momentum. Just because it's easy, but that don't make it better. I wanna dig my hands deep down in the dirt, take a walk along the street if I'm feeling dessert. All of this convenience just doesn't work for me. I wanna play with fire, let me get hurt. Can we take it back to 95, before we had this drama in our lives? Just staring at the screen every day and night. I miss the rush of living in real life. Go get your DeLorean. Oh, I miss the summers with you and
say, boy, just don't bother. I know this all just makes me sound ancient, but sons and daughters, that shit was amazing. Can we take it back to 95? Before we had this drama in our lives, just staring at the screen every day and night. I miss the rush of living in real life. Don't get your DeLorean. Don't get your DeLorean. Yo, what you got in that bag? Candy, cigarettes, and a Playboy mag? Man, you used to have to work for that. Wait for me, gotta dial up. Can't call my landline cause it's all tied up. Just bike over then. Oh, oh, oh. I miss
Look at me, take a picture, it'll last longer. The mirror on the wall say I'm getting stronger. Ayo, the mirror don't lie. Ayo, the mirror don't lie. Look at me, take a picture, it'll last longer. The mirror on the wall say I'm getting stronger. Ayo, the mirror don't lie. If you want the truth, don't close your eyes. We got our back against the wall, we gotta fight back. I need a theme song, this the right track. I ain't got no cape or no superpowers. Just confidence and self-esteem, the world is ours. I believed in me when nobody didn't. This ain't no freestyle, just some facts that's written. Come on, let's hear it for the boy. He bringing pain at the same time, joy. I bob and weave through the crowd, so untouchable. At first they hate, then they loving you. It's a crazy cycle, but I'm going through it. I wish I was lying, that's why I show and prove it. I'm destined to be one of the best to do it. I ain't saying I'm the GOAT, but I'm closer to it. I should get a statue in the front yard. Man, I'm shooting up my stats like
Okay, welcome to the live stream. Hopefully everybody's having a good week. We're going to be doing system build 14. This is an Intel build. The graphics a little wrong. I just realized it has an i5 on there. We have an i3, but it's the same essential parts. The parts list will be down in the description if you haven't noticed already. So let's take a look at the parts. Let me get my overhead. We changed the view of the overhead a little bit, so it hopefully will work better. If not, well, we learned our lesson. Okay, so let's switch it over. Hopefully everybody can hear me. Let me switch it over to this. Okay, so parts. Ryan should get things in focus. We have an Intel i3. This is a 12th gen, not a 13th gen. It is just a business machine, so not going crazy, but this board can support everything up to 13th gen as well with a BIOS update. So motherboard itself is a MSI Pro H16M G DDR4. RAM, we're doing 16 gigabytes of 3200 megahertz memory from Corsair. It's Corsair Vengeance. Crucial memory for hard drive is 500 gigabytes. This is the Gen 3, not Gen 4, but this machine is not that high end, so we don't really need anything more than that. And we have a Thermaltake power supply, and our case is a Thermaltake H17. Probably seen in a lot of other videos. It's off to our side over here, which you are not seeing me, which didn't make any sense. It's over here on this side, and yeah, that's about it for parts. You'll probably need a few tools. So tools wise, we are going to need a screwdriver, a pair of clippers, a knife, and some cable ties. I also have over here just an iFixit kit, which has just some small screwdrivers for if we need to install the NVMe drive. We have a little bit of room. All right, so let's start. Let's clear a little of this stuff up. We don't really need all this in our way. We're just gonna start with the main stuff. Power supply, we can move over here. Okay. Gonna start with the motherboard. Get the motherboard out. And okay. In the motherboard itself, you've got basically your CPU socket, RAM socket, and you're going to be using JFP1 for the front headers, audio, USB, as well as USB 3.0, 2.0. And that's about it that you're going to be really using off of this board, plus power and the regular CPU fan. We are not doing a graphic card, so we will not be doing it. You won't be seeing me installing a graphic card, but you would put it here, as well as your NVMe drive will go here. You'll see as I go each piece. In the motherboard manual, motherboard box, what's in the box? You got regular SATA cables. We're not going to use those. We have an NVMe drive. We are going to use the little screw and nub piece that we're going to put off to the side. Dreaded I/O shield. And the manual and some stickers and garbage. We don't need that. We're not going to use the manual. and or the drivers from this. We're going to use the drivers that are online. This closes. There we go. I'm going to put this back. Okay. So to get started, let's start with the processor. That's always the easiest one, or at least the most dangerous one. You can open up the socket, basically lifting the arm, take the processor out of the box. Be careful not to bend any pins or get anything on there. If it's your first time building, just keep that closed until you're ready to actually put the processor on. These little pins in here are very easy to bend, so you don't want that happening. Take the processor out. Let's put the processor here for a sec. Box you don't need. To the side. Processor comes in a little clamshell. You want to obviously face the pins downwards when you go to put this in, but you're going to take it out of the clamshell in a minute. This is your heatsink and fan. Just going to leave that off to the side. Don't take it out of the box. There is a, under here, there is a thermal paste that's already pre-applied. You don't want to get that dirty. You'll have to reapply it if you do. It does come with a manual and a lovely sticker if you care for manuals and stickers. I do not. Get rid of that. Well, I care for manuals, I just don't care for stickers. All right, so we're going to take the CPU out without breaking it. Carry with your 2 fingers on the side, lift it up and off. Never touch the pin pads. These are the pads on the bottom. Do not touch the pads, try not to. You want to find the little arrow. There's a little itty bitty arrow that's on the side of the CPU. That arrow is going to match that arrow that is on the socket. So what you're going to do is you're going to lift it back up. You're going to put it down in the same position, and it should just drop right in place. Be very careful not to touch anything else. And what you're going to do is you're just going to push that down. The little shield's going to pop off. That's okay. Just keep this, just in case you have to return your board or there's an RMA for your motherboard, you're going to need this to protect the socket without the CPU in it. Let's put that off to the side. Next, you're going to put the heatsink on. So at this point, I'm just going to open up the box carefully. Come on. I say carefully, but it is actually stuck. Wow. All right. Anyway, this is what I'm talking about with the thermal paste. If you see here, there is a coated thermal paste that's already on here. This you do not want to touch. Just leave it as is. If you have different thermal paste you want to use, you can. Just be sure that you rub this off with some isopropyl alcohol and get rid of that just in case you don't want to use that, and then just reapply thermal paste down below. I'm just going to leave the one that's currently here because it works perfectly fine for this processor. Just make sure that your this is a generic, I shouldn't say generic. This is the one that comes with the processor, this type of heatsink. So just make sure that all the things are turned left so that they're all in the proper position. Most of the time it comes already turned left, but just in case. So you're going to line it up with these 4 holes here, and you're going to put it down onto the board very gently. And you're going to go corner to corner. So you're going to pop one corner, pop the other corner. Same thing, push, push. Should all click into place. To double check, lift up. If it comes off, then you've done it wrong. Also, you can check the back of the board. There are little push-throughs. You'll see the little stands going through, and that is connected. So let's put this back down. You're going to connect the power to the CPU to the CPU fan, which is right here, labeled CPU fan 1. And that's it for the Intel processor installation. Very simple, very easy, nothing to it. Now moving on, let's get the NVMe in there, which is the hard drive. So we're just gonna open up this, which I don't know why they still call it a hard drive. It's technically not. Anyway, whatever. Okay, so this stand is actually a little easier. There's no screw on it. You can't see that, can you? There's no screw on it, it's just a little lever, so we're going to put that in place down here on the motherboard. In this case, we have a M22280, it should be. Yes, 2280. So it's going to go into the last standoff there. This is going to be a little hard to screw in. I'm hoping that I can do this with my hand, but if I can't, that's what those little, yep, can't do that. And I need a smaller, smaller screwdriver. Get a small bit. It's really small. Down there. Yeah, that should do it. All right. Now you just line this up with the hole on the board, and hopefully everything will go in place without me losing my patience because it's such a small screw. Come on, there we go. Nope, it didn't cross through the other way. Come on. Let me just... Yeah, you'd think they would install this stuff before they give it to you. This screw is the hardest part. Everything else should be pretty simple. You know what, if I use the right size, that's probably the reason why this is not working. So it's smaller or larger. Okay. Oh, it's all already in. Okay, I'm doing too much work. That's the top screw. That needs to be screwed on. There we go. All right, it's now in place, and we are ready to put in the drive. Okay. That. Oh, plastic. All right, come on. So the drive goes in basically on pretty much like a 45-degree angle into this socket right here. It slides in and it should just push a little bit, and then this should go straight down, and you have to put the little latch over it so it stays down. And that's it. Very simple to install, very easy. They also sometimes come with a screw. Just hold on to that just in case you change your motherboard and the other motherboard doesn't have a nice fancy clip. All right, so moving on, we're gonna do RAM, and then we're gonna put everything into the case. Get the garbage out of here. Let's open up this. RAM is very simple to install. It shouldn't be difficult at all. We're just gonna basically take it out of the package. When it's in the package, Corsair happens to put these little plastic covers on. Just take them off before you install your RAM because you don't want plastic sitting inside your case or melting. So that's never a good thing. The notch here lines up with the notch on the board. There's only one way it fits in. It is notched more to one angle. This is DDR4, so it's a little easier to see. If it's DDR5, it's a little more trickier. So you may have to look more onto the board to make sure that you're not putting it in the wrong way. If you're forcing it, you're doing it wrong. So should be a little bit of pressure, not much. Should pop in place. That's it. Again, repeat the same thing for the second stick. If your motherboard has 4 RAM sockets, you will need to double check that, you have to double check that the which socket you're putting it into. Make sure that you are putting it into the same banked and same channel. So if you have 4 sockets, it'll be labeled down, way down the motherboard, which socket, which DIMM socket you should be plugging into. There's like A channel and B channel. Make sure that you're only choosing one channel so you're in dual channel mode. If you're not sure, check with your motherboard manufacturer and see on their manual which way to go. If you're really, really unsure, just buy 4 sticks of RAM. Then you can't make a mistake. All right, so that's all plugged in. You have more patience than I do, however, that was quick. Yeah, I don't think that was very quick, but I appreciate it. That took me a little longer than usual. All right, so let's take the motherboard and put that aside. We're gonna now take the case and we're gonna start working on the case. So let me get some of this garbage out of my way. Always clean your space as much as you can. And by cleaning, I mean throw it to the side until later. Okay, garbage. All right, this we don't need. No, we don't need for now. Okay, SATA cables we're not going to need. Let's use that as our tray. Okay. Oh, by the way, you'll also need a flash drive with Windows 11 on it. Go over that later. Let's see. Grab this. Ooh, okay. It's going to be out of view for 1 second while I arrange the case here. I'm just going to take the sides off the case. Okay. All right, while you're working with this, of course, do not lose any of your screws. Be sure to put the screws in your screw tray just so you have everything in one spot. You could use a paper plate. You don't have to have a really fancy screw tray or something, but it is a little easier if you have a magnetic screw tray. That will make it a little easier to hold on to all those screws so you don't lose them. Just take off the side panels and the back. This case, the back happens to have all of the cable connectors here, which I'm going to take off first. Okay. It's going to come with a little baggie of screws. Let's put this down. So put it down face down so you guys can see how everything is going. Okay. All right, screws I'm just going to lay out for us here just before we start. It also comes with some zip ties, which are always nice. I say zip ties, but pretty much cable ties. Let's show my age. I'm saying zip ties. That's bad. Cable ties. All right. What comes in the bag is your speaker, which we are not going to use. I don't know if this is in focus, not really in focus. Okay, so not that this is really exciting, but this is a speaker that comes with the case. It just makes a beep noise when you plug it in. It's annoying. We're gonna toss that. So does come with also SSD screws. Just put that on the side. This is if you want to upgrade your computer, you want to add more hard drives to your computer, you can do that. Also, the regular bag for 3.5-inch drives. So if you have a mechanical drive, you can use that. And then the most important one, which is the screw bag for the screws we're actually going to use, which are for the motherboard and for fans and a whole bunch of other stuff. So let's bring this back a second. Let me pour this out. All right. So screw-wise, just to give you an idea, first of all, those are your case screws. Those are your thumb screws, so put those off to the side. These are fan screws, which are going to just separate. And we got a few that are totally different. Okay, so the ones that we're mostly concerned with are going to be the motherboard screws. And the power supply already comes with other screws, so you don't have to use the ones that are here. But that just groups everything together. So these are all your motherboard screws, which are really, 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 really small. Probably not visible here. Let's try this. The other way. They are really, really small. That is a very thin type. This one is a power supply screw or a case screw, or you could also use this screw for screwing in your graphic card or anything like that. We don't have a graphic card here, but that would be the thickness of that screw. I'm going to put that off to the side. This is what we're going to use for the motherboard. We're going to take that out, and we're going to go back to the case. Go a little bit more this way. There we go. It's a little blurry. Okay, so just turn that. Put these off to the side here. So the first thing before you install your motherboard is the dreaded I/O shield. Do not forget to do this shield. I have forgotten so many times. Someone has said much better than taking a hammer to it. That's maybe it might be better than taking, I don't know. Sometimes taking a hammer to it does fix it. So, you know, not always. So on the I/O shield here, what you want to do is you want to bend up these little metal tabs. This is the inside where the motherboard is going to go into. You want to just avoid getting them jammed into the port. So just push them up a little bit so it's out of the way. Be very careful. This is a sharp piece of metal. I have already cut my finger on it. Not this one, but during a different build, I did cut my finger. So this is very sharp. Be very careful. If you're not sure what you're doing, just be very gentle while putting this in and not, you know, try to force it in. So this goes back into the back corner. This is just basically right into the only square it fits into, well, rectangle it fits into. Just push it in. It should pop into place. It should not give you too much resistance. If you are, you may want to check the alignment and just see if you're a little off. This case does come with a exhaust fan. So I'm just going to tuck the cable out of the way for now, just so it's up and out of the way and I can install the motherboard directly in here. I am in the wrong spot for this. Moving this up over there. There we go. Okay. So let's check the motherboard. Let's make sure we've got all of the screw holes and the screw down. There's these little, I don't know if you can see this, these little stands that are going to basically hold up the motherboard. Those have to align to these holes that are specifically on the board. So you're going to have to make sure all these holes line up, and you should count them before you start and make sure that you have the same amount of screws as you have screwed into. So you make sure that they're basically, you're not missing any of the stand-ups. If you miss one of these stand-ups and they're in the incorrect spot, it will cause a short on the motherboard and you may end up damaging your motherboard. So it's best to double check this. Now to install the motherboard, just basically slide down, slide into place, make sure the back of the case, it is lined up, which it is, and then just give it a little push forward until it lines up with the holes. Now this case luckily has the little standoffs have a little groove there, so it helps it slide into place. If you have a case that doesn't have that, you might have to just line up the holes correctly on your own without using that, but with this case you get lucky and you have the little stand-ups. So now just put the screws in, screw each one in, make sure that you screw all of them in correctly, and I will go reaching over again. You don't have to use an electric screwdriver. You can use just a regular screwdriver. You don't need anything fancy to make this work. In fact, actually, if it's your first build, I recommend you don't use an electric screwdriver. Just use a regular screwdriver, just so you can't damage anything. I'm just doing this for speed and laziness. Repeat the step until all screws are screwed in. And that helps if Brian puts it straight. There we go. There we go. Good to go. Motherboard should not move. You should count your screws again. Make sure that you've got the proper amount. compared to what you had on the amount of stands. Now, at this point, we can start plugging in some of the I/O, or we can plug in the power supply. You can choose whichever way you want to go. I'm going to plug in some of what I already know here, just because it's in front of me, but you can go either way on this. I'm going to plug in the exhaust fan first. Be sure to take off these little ties that have the metal in, like metal pieces inside this. You don't want this in your case. Just use regular plastic zip ties. Take them off. Do not use those, just in case something goes wrong. And now what we're going to look for here is just simply the CPU fan. I mean, not sorry, case fan connector, which I think is only up here. But I'm going to see if I can try to find another one that is a little closer. And there is not one that's closer. Or I'm blind. Yep, there's not one that's closer. That kind of sucks that we have to go that way, but at least there's a fan connector. So we can't really go wrong with that. The fan connector itself, it's a 3-pin, this one, and it has little plastic guides. You can only put this really in, well, you could put this in wrong, but if you're putting it in wrong, it should give you too much resistance. So just double check how you're putting it in. It should only slide onto 3 pins, and it should line up with the grooves that are there. Now, if you're pushing down and that little tongue piece is coming back, that means you've got it the wrong direction. Flip it back over and try again. Again, you shouldn't have to really push too hard. A lot of this stuff should just go really easily together. If you're pushing too hard, you are basically doing it wrong. So just be careful and go a little slower and take a step back. All right, so we're gonna get the rest of the I/O stuff. Let me get that from the other side. I'm gonna have to lift this a little bit and flip this over. So the mess of cables. Okay, the I/O panel, the front I/O panel is always a mess, so we're gonna have a little bit of cabling nightmare here. Okay, I just separate out the cables here a little bit. I separate the small ones from the big ones, because the small ones are all gonna go into one spot, and the bigger ones are gonna go all over the place, so they're not gonna go that same direction. Just gonna take those off. The thin, small ones, you've got power switch. If I need this, yeah, we'll just go up to the top and just. We have HDD, we have the power switch, the reset button, power LED, which is these two here. So they're all labeled, and they're all labeled with positive and negative. You'll want to put them in the proper positive and negative spots on the motherboard. The ones that don't have positive and negative are the switches, because the switches do not make a difference. You can put them either way and it doesn't matter. But the LEDs will make a difference for positive and negative. They will not light up. You won't break the LEDs by having them the wrong way, so don't worry if they are the wrong way. Just go back and fix it so it does work. We're going to put these towards the bottom of the board down here on this side, because I know it comes up on this side. There are little holes here, so it's just going to go right through the hole that you need to find it through. That goes that way. And this is HD audio, which is always far corner, so we're just going to push that up there. USB is in the middle somewhere, but we're just going to put a far corner as well. And the USB 3.0, I believe, is here through that hole. So everything held down, just lift up. Now, if you want, you could tie these to the back of the case if they move on you. I already know they're probably going to move a little bit, but they're not going to move that much. So I'm just going to grab them from this side and go from there. Put the case down. Okay, so on this side, which is all blurry, there we go. Kind of getting there. All right, still. All right, it's not too bad. Okay, so down in the bottom corner, the one that's labeled JFP1, which is front panel 1 pretty much, you can connect that straight into there, and there is a little little map that they've got going on here that tells you exactly how to plug all this in. If you can't read this on the board, it's pretty small, then you can grab the manual. The manual has a bigger picture of it, and you can use the bigger picture to zoom in or out on the manual. The manual is online. You could just download it as a PDF, and you can use that. I wouldn't recommend the one from the book because the book doesn't really show it any better. So it's just basically HDD plus negative on the left side, and then going right, we're going to have a reset switch. Plug it in, and then you're going to have above reset switch is the power switch usually. They're usually in the same pinouts, if I can see. There we go. And then power LED, which is, again, positive, negative this way. So turn it. Positive, negative, going from left to right as positive, negative. There we go. Those are the hardest ones to plug in. After you've got those, the other ones are pretty easy because they only fit one way. This is USB, so this is going to go into J USB 1. And it's got a block on it, so the block just gets the same direction as the one that's blocked out on the board. Audio, same thing. You just find J Audio 1, plug it in, really easy. After those are plugged in, just push the wires back a little bit so they're just out of your way. Put the USB 3.0 connection in. This one's obviously very simple because it's blue. The only problem is if you have to take this out, you have to be very careful not to pull the whole black casing around it out with it. I'd recommend you use a pair of little tweezers or something to get in there and just disconnect it from the board, because once it's plugged in, it is really hard to take back out. Again, line up the pins, line up the notch, plug it in. It should just click in place. Now when you go to take this out, this might be a little hard to take out. You may need a little, like, either flathead screwdriver, or you might need like a really small flathead screwdriver, or you may need a like a pair of tweezers to get that out, because it is pretty tricky without breaking the board. Or you could hold down the left side if you're feeling very brave, and then try to pull it straight out. That's it for front panel I/O. We're going to move on to the power supply next. So we're going to flip this back over, and we're going to put the power supply in. By the way, normally I wouldn't be flipping this around very much. I would probably just be putting it up straight up and down, but you guys wouldn't be able to see anything, so that would really kind of defeat the purpose. But during the installation, what I would normally do is just keep the tower straight up and down, and I would be able to put all this in left and right without having to keep rotating the system. Power supply. It's a Thermaltake Smart 500 watt. This is not a very expensive power supply. This is like good enough for most business applications. I wouldn't say this is good enough for like a high-end application. If you have a graphic card, this power supply would barely meet the minimum requirements. So I would not recommend this. I would recommend getting something a little bit more higher wattage, and I will show you why in a second. You got the manual, wonderful manual. If you need it, read it. I don't know. Silicone packet. All right. Some more wire ties, which are always good. We will use those. Power cord, just keep on the side. You'll need that. And you got the power supply itself. Let's pull that out. Let's leave that there for a sec. Let me get the box out of here. Just leave it over there for now. All right. So on the power supply itself, I'm going to show you why you don't want to use a graphic card that's too high powered with this system or anything like that. Even if you have just a low powered GPU, you may not want to do it. And that is because of this lovely sticker, which hopefully you can read. But your max output on your 12 volt rail is 450 watts. So that's the max that you're going to be pulling on your 12 volt rail. If your graphic card is pulling 400 watts and your system may be pulling another 50 watts, you'll probably be almost close to maxing this power supply out. So in that case, you would not want to use that. A lot of the more high-end graphic cards nowadays use a lot more power. and they're not very efficient when it comes to that. So you're going to end up using and maxing out all your power. At this point, this is all the leads to the power supply and all that stuff. So just be careful. I would choose just a higher end power supply. Obviously spec your computer accordingly. Don't underspec it when it comes to a power supply. If you're unsure, go with the larger number. But when you go online, just make sure to read that label. They usually have the label up there. Look at the 12 volt and make sure that it's over the recommendation for your graphic card plus your system. So, down below, very simple. You have an area right here for the power supply. The filter is down on the bottom. So we're going to place the fan towards the filter, obviously, so that it can pull in fresh air from the bottom. If you're going to put this machine on a carpet or something that doesn't give it breathing room on the bottom, you will want to either elevate the machine by putting it on a box or something. And I say box, I mean like a sturdy box, not like a paper box. You know, wooden box, whatever. Put it up on something so that it gets a little bit away from that carpet. But if you're going to be putting it on carpet and you have no other option to put it on the carpet, then, and you can't buy something that would put a spacer on the bottom, then you want to flip the power supply the opposite direction and pull air from the top. But that's going to still suffocate this power supply a little bit. I wouldn't recommend that. I would recommend just elevating the machine up a little bit and just getting a little more air on the bottom of the unit. By the way, this is the bottom of the unit. This is the back of the unit. That's the front of the unit. I know I moved things around a little bit, so just to orient yourself. So we're going to slide this power supply in. We're going to put the fan towards the bottom. Make sure it's off. Doesn't really matter, but slide it in. The label should be upside down. That's correct, because that obviously means it's going downwards. We're going to grab the few screws that this thing came with, which it did come with. It's in the bag with the wire ties, so we're just going to take that out. Over there. And we're going to take the 4 screws. The 4 screws that you're going to be using are the ones that come with the power supply, which are the bigger screws. They're a little thicker. Those are the ones that are going to grab onto the back of the power supply. Turn a little bit here. I don't know if I'm going to be able to get this on camera because I got to line this up, but when you line it up at the back, it just lines up with the 4 screws in the back of the unit, and you just screw it in. Now this is a lot harder this direction. Actually, I usually put the system upwards when I do this, but we're gonna try. Let's get one, and then small table works. A small table works. Oh, yeah, I mean, you could use a bigger table too. I mean, I don't know. I don't know what a small table works. Maybe you were talking about something before. I am a little delayed here, so I don't know. Small table works. What was I talking about before? Well, I guess you could use, maybe you were talking about you could use a small, yeah, you could use a small table to build on if you want. I would recommend a little bigger table just so you have more room and you're not throwing things on the floor like I am. You know, it's probably better off to do that. But I already know it's garbage, so, you know, it really doesn't matter. But all right, power supply. So we got a bunch of cords here. Let me bring this up. You need to know which ones are which here. So a lot of these we're not going to use because we're not using SATA cables. So really the most important ones obviously for the motherboard itself, the 24 pin here for the motherboard. This is a graphic card one. These are labeled, at least Thermaltake labels theirs. It does say PCIe. The ones that say PCIe is for your graphic card. We are not going to use this because we don't have a graphic card. But if you do, that's the one you would plug in, and it does have a 6-pin plus 2 for 8, or you can slide these out and it can become just 6 if you are only using 6 of these pins and not 8 of these pins. So same thing for this one. It is a daisy chain one, which is not very great, but that's okay because it's a low-end power supply. Other connectors, these are really old. You got a floppy connector, which also could be used for tape. I guess. And, you know, you get your regular 4-pin Molex connectors, which are really old and most people aren't using anymore. These are also your SATA connectors. SATA connectors are these new ones, which are very thin. They plug into any SATA hard drive or any CD-ROM now still uses that. If you still want a CD-ROM in your unit, you can do that. We got a lot of SATA connectors here, a lot of other connectors. We're going to take all that out of here. We don't really need any of that. We just need the motherboard and the one that's labeled CPU. So this one's labeled CPU. That's going to go through this top hole here, and the bigger one's going to go through this hole here because that's where it is on the motherboard. Let me just pull this. Let me just rearrange these cables a little bit because I am not liking how they're all tangled. So we need that one. If you're unsure what I'm doing here, I'm just untangling them, moving them into position so that I'm only going to grab these two from the main pull here. So if you guys can see, this is really just keeping these separate from everything else. Gonna pop that through that hole. Gonna pop that up here, just so it's ready to go for the other side. And these, all of these cables, we could just tie up to get out of the way for now. If you're putting in another hard drive or using another graphic card, you know, then use whatever you gotta use and put them through to wherever you gotta put them. Now, if you have an SSD, they will, if you have like a 2.5-inch SSD, they are labeled here SSD. It's kind of reverse here, but it goes on the opposite side here and you can slide that there. If you have a mechanical drive, there's mechanical drive holders right here on the bottom of the case. You could screw them in and use those. They will use these screws for the SSD, as well as you would use these screws with a little plastic rubber noise isolation, like it's to basically bring the noise isolation down. These little rubber screws on there that you would use on the bottom, but just hold on to these. You don't want to get rid of them because maybe you might want to add a drive later. That happens in life. You want to add more space. It's there. We will put them at the bottom for the customer so that they're already there. And I'm ignoring chat. I'm sorry. A small thing works for fan. Oh yeah, you could. Oh, I'm sorry. Yeah, you can. Yeah, you could use a small table to put the machine on. Yeah, I recommend the desk anyway. I don't really recommend the floor. I try not to because the floor just basically is just a way of getting more dust into your unit. So if you really want the least amount of dust in your computer, put it on the desk or put it, you know, on a small table. Yeah, a small table will work. You know, you don't buy a small table from like Amazon or IKEA or whatever. You know, pick one. You know, one that fits your spot. I would recommend keeping it off the floor though. Yeah, as much as possible. Even if you don't have carpet and you have regular tiled floor, it's just not the best spot for it. You are going to get more dust in the unit. By the way, I'm just basically zip tying these together and just going to cut off the excess before I tuck the cables in. Now, before I tuck these cables in, what I'm going to do is I'm going to put the extra screws that we have here, and I'm going to put them at the bottom of the case so that we have them for later. If a technician decides to open up this case and use the unit, it can do that and they had to drive without having to come all the way back to a place to go find screws. It's always best to have them inside the unit. Or if somebody, let's say somebody else wants to upgrade the unit, they can do that. So I'm just going to puncture a little hole. Do not go too much. There we go. Just a little hole. And we're going to put this through with a zip tie through the hole. There we go. And we're going to screw that to the bottom part of the case. Well, not screw it down to the bottom of the case. We'll just basically wire tie it down to the bottom part of the case. There's little holes here. Let me move this up. Okay. Yeah, so hopefully, yeah, you can see a little bit. See, these little holes are here for the other drive. So this is actually perfect because this is where these are going to go anyway. You would end up putting a hard drive in. If you know, I put the zip tie the wrong direction today. All right, put it the right direction, and then basically you're going to put it through those two little holes. So if I can get it in there, let's see. All right. This helps if they didn't have black zip ties for everything. There we go. All right. Just punch it through, tie it up. When you puncture that bag, just be careful. Just make a very small hole so it doesn't rip the bag, because you don't want it screws all over the place. You're just really using this so that you have it for later. Cut the little tail off, and that's it for it being down there. That's okay. Now you're going to take all of this lovely cable and just shove it down the bottom. You will not see this from the other side because obviously it has a little shroud there, so it'll keep everything away from it. We're going to tie this up in 2 minutes, but what we really want to do is we want to plug in those other 2 cables first, and then we're going to tie everything up. If you want to tie everything up first, you could tie everything up first. It's just going to probably make it a little harder to pull the cables back. It'll be a little neater to pull it back last, so that at least this way you have a very straightforward look in the front. So we're just going to plug this straight in. So the motherboard, it only plugs into one spot. You want to line up the clip to click into the proper area. You should hear it click in. It just made a little popping noise. That's it. Same thing here. You want to line up the little clip with this in here, and it'll click into place. And of course, you get to put it the right direction. And hopefully not go blind. Trying to plug it in. There we go. If you're not sure, if you can't see this stuff, just turn on a light. You know, get a flashlight. Use a flashlight if you can't see where this stuff plugs into. But this is the big 24 pin, and that is the 8 pin up at the top for the CPU. And now we're ready to pull everything back, which is always fun. So all of this cable is going to be pulled back onto the other side. Pull carefully. Do not pull really hard. You want to just pull enough so that you're just pulling up the slack from the other side so it looks nice and clean. Do not pull to the point that you're going to break cables and stuff. Just be gentle. So pull this cable back. Is this straight? Yeah, that's straight. There we go. So that's straight. Pull it down. This is easier, by the way, if you have it upwards so you can see both sides. I'm doing it the hard way because I'm trying to show you guys how to cable manage, but it's a lot easier actually with the other side being visible at the same time. When you want to put these through, you're just gonna, there we go. They have the little tail on them. So what you're gonna do is to get this through that little hole there, you can just bend the tail, and now it will stay in place a little bit. Well, sometimes it stays in place. There we go. Stays in place, and it'll allow you to slide it through the little anchor point without driving yourself nuts. Let me go back to the camera here. Just gets underneath that anchor a little easier. And again, just pull the slack back before you push it down. Now you're gonna go to these little anchor points all the way down. Just everything, same thing. You're just gonna follow a path and just stick with that path. You see there's a lot of anchor points here. You're just gonna try to anchor as much to those anchor points to push all this cable back and out of the way. This one especially. Just pull up the slack from the other side so you have all of it on this side. You want as much as on this side as possible because this side is not visible at all, even if you open up the other side. Now, there's no window on this machine, so this is kind of stupid. There's no real reason for this, except for the fact that I know it's there. Also, when you go to clean the machine, it is a little easier with all the cables out of your way because then you can just tap the dust off of things instead of having to keep moving cables out of your way. So let's just get that in place. That is not a wire cable tie. There we go. So let's just bend these. Use the ones that came with the system if you want to use those. You could also use better ones if you have better cable ties. Don't use Velcro ties in the inside of the system. Please try not to do that because they do collect dust and they are harder to clean. So you're not going to change this very often anyway, so you're better off with just regular cable ties. You can cut them if you need to cut them. I know a lot of people are going to get me in the comments. They're going to be like, Brian, you know, I don't like cable ties. I like, you know, I like Velcro strips because you can just take them apart, blah, blah, blah. If you're upgrading your system that often that you can't afford a little box of cable ties, I don't know what you're doing to your system that it requires that much upgrading. But I think you can afford a box of cable ties and make it just permanent instead of dealing with, you know, things moving on you all the time. Plus dust just alone, the dust attaches to those Velcro strips like it's nothing. It just becomes a real mess. And then you end up taking them out anyway because they're junk. And you end up with a whole mess of dust bunnies on them. It's just not agreeing with me today. There we go. Okay, so just keep following a pattern, following a path, and cable tying everything down. And again, pulling the slack back up just to make sure that you don't have any slack on the opposite side, which we don't. This goes under here. Why can't I see? There we go. Try to follow a path straight down or away. Wrong, I love cable ties. Yeah, well, see, I agree. I like cable ties too. I think cable ties are the better way to go. But, you know, a lot of people are going to disagree with me because they're going to be like, well, they're so permanent. And I'm like, well, yeah. That's the point of it. All right, let's pull these back. And they're not really permanent. I mean, you can still clip them. So, I mean, it's not written in stone you have to use these. But if, you know, if you're building a system, why not? I mean, it's not that big of a deal. All right. Is that down enough? Yeah, that's down enough. It should be good. So make sure they're all tight, and then you're just going to clip the tails. So I'm just going to take each tail and just clip it off. I'll throw that out. Be sure not to clip any of the cables, of course. Nice and clean, all on one side. Everything is down there. All of the extra cable. Point you to something off camera. All the extra cabling is down here, and your extra screws are down here. So we're now going to lift it back up. Check the other side to make sure it doesn't look totally stupid, which it looks kind of good. Still got a little more cable tying to do here. I didn't realize I didn't pull these a little bit, so I'm just going to tuck that back and down. They were behind the power supply, so I did not see that. And we're going to just fix that a little bit. Just pull these back and down. And we'll put another tie on that just in the back really quick. This is just to pull the cables back into position. Again, this is probably overkill for this because you're not going to see it anyway. Actually, we don't need another one, I don't think. We'll just tuck that under this way. Yeah, that's good. Okay. All right. So now that's nice and clean, except for the fan cable, which I totally forgot about. The little ones here that are all hanging out. So this one's a little harder to run. We can dip this cable back and underneath the little turny thing. There we go. So that just pops that one out of the way. This one we have to go further up and back this way, which this does not have a screw hole, which kind of stinks. So we're just gonna basically put this up behind here and tie that to here. I think I'm not very happy with this cable. This cable's kind of chilling out of nowhere. Ew. Oh, I don't know where this turned. There we go. So this cable's kind of in my way. I don't like that. I might just go back behind the board. This is like way overkill for this, but we could just kind of go back here, slide this back up and around, and pull it back this way into the other hole and plug it back in. This is probably way overkill for what needs to be done. I could have probably just tied it up, but I felt like this is easier. And it looks a little better that way, because now it goes back behind the board and it comes up on this side. And very little cable is actually visible. I mean, this is a little visible, but we'll push that back up underneath there. There we go. As long as it's outside away from the fans, I'm kind of okay with it. So I also try to avoid putting anything across where, you know, where the graphic card might go. The reason why is because if we want to add a graphic card later, it should be really easy. We should be able to unscrew this, pop a graphic card in. It should take 5 minutes, not 15 minutes of rerunning wires. So that's another reason why you want to keep that open. All right. That's it for this. I'm going to boot it up and let's see if Brian screwed it up or if it actually works. I'm just kidding. It's going to work. It should work. Should work. The last famous words of Brian, it should work. All right. Let's see. I need a little bit of room here. I'm just going to connect. What I'm doing is I'm going to just connect up the HDMI output so you guys can see what I see. And, oh, I need a keyboard and mouse. Okay, so you need a keyboard, mouse, and monitor. I forgot to tell you about that. I mean, that was kind of common sense, but just in case you don't have one, I'm just going to reach behind here and grab one. Mouse. Yeah, it keeps it well organized. I try to keep the cables as organized as I can because the more work I put up front with this, the less work I'm going to have to deal with it later. And that's the same thing for you guys. You know, it's not just you know, it's not just because we're technicians and we want to make sure that, you know, everything is perfect. That's not the way it is. It just makes our lives a little easier too. And that'll make your lives a little easier because if you have to maintain your computer, you're the one that's going to have to dust it out. It's going to be a lot easier to dust it out or even upgrade it if you have all the wires out of your way so you can see what's going on. You can also diagnose it a little bit easier because everything's up and out of your way. And you can also make sure that everything's plugged in correctly, which is always a positive. All right, let's switch over to that screen, which is for, let me put myself up here. Sorry guys, I don't want dark on you. And let's flip this on, flip the power button. Oh, there it goes. Okay. Ooh, I thought I didn't have the power plugged in or something. All right, so the BIOS should come up in about a second, hopefully, if I didn't break anything. There we go. First time you run, it's going to say CPU or memory changed. This is normal. That's okay. Run setup. So my keyboard is stupid, and it doesn't have this key. So I'm going to hit the delete key. There we go. So we're into the BIOS, and I'm going to bring this up a little bigger so I can actually read it because I am blind today. There we go. All right. This is more the advanced screen. Is this the advanced screen? No, this is not the advanced screen. Function F7 is the advanced screen. That's what I would prefer. Now, in the BIOS, we're just going to do a few quick system settings. We're just going to go through it really quick. We're going to set the date and time, so that is close, but it is wrong. It is the 13th, 2023, and that is the wrong time. That is 1828. Am I right? I am bad at math today. Why can't they just put this in AM, PM? I know everybody's going to yell at me. Like, military time is better. It probably is. All right. I'm talking to myself. Now, DMI, that's nothing changed. I just changed the date and time for right now, just to be sure we're on the correct date and time. I don't change anything else because we're going to have to update the BIOS. I have a feeling this BIOS is not up to date. This BIOS is, I can't read it because my face is in the way. Turn that off. It is 1.3. Now, yeah, it's old. It's 2022 build, so we're just going to update the BIOS. So what I've got on the flash drive is a BIOS. I'm going to pop it into the back of the computer. Do not use the front panel for this update just in case something's wrong with that front panel. You're better off using the rear of the panel. I've had issues before, not very often, but sometimes it happens. Where we're going to go to is M Flash. Fingers crossed. Oh yeah, this is a moment of truth, man. We're not up to that yet. Booting is one portion. Flashing the BIOS is another. So we're going to basically enter flash mode, sure, reboot, blah, blah, blah. But be sure to plug into the back of the computer when you're doing BIOS flashes, because you don't want to use anything in the front. You will have a problem sometimes, and you don't want that problem. Another word of advice, if you're doing a BIOS flash, be sure that you are on stable power and that there is no lightning storm or something else happening outside that you could lose power. This will be really bad if you lose power. Now, I've already put the BIOS on here. To get this BIOS, I went to MSI's website, and I was able to grab that BIOS from their site, and I got the newest one. So I know it's this file. I'm going to see that you see that version. Right now, your current version, it shows 1.3. This is version 1.A. Okay, I guess that's a really weird way of doing that, but that's fine. Say, do you want to read the file? Sure. Now, during this process, it clearly states, do not power off, do not pull out the USB flash drive from the port. This is very important. You can screw up your motherboard if you do any of those right now. During this sensitive time, that processor is the BIOS chip is being flashed. So during this time, that BIOS chip doesn't know what it is right now until the flashing is complete. If you pull the power during that time, you're going to have an incomplete BIOS, and therefore the system will not boot. So be very careful while you're doing this. Be sure that you are plugged into stable power. If you have a USB battery, even better. I can't stress that enough. All right, this BIOS update's going pretty quick. We'll let that go. And then we're going to change a few little quick settings in the BIOS itself, and then we will load Windows 11. I already have Windows 11 on this USB flash drive. I'm going to show a quick version while Windows 11's loading. I'm going to show you how to do that really fast, how to make a flash drive with Windows 11 on it. Shouldn't take too long. If this ever goes. Come on. If this is the first time you're building also, before you get to this BIOS update, you'll want to check the CPU temperature and make sure it's, not running away. In this case, it's at 32 degrees Celsius. That's perfectly fine for this processor. It's not increasing over time. If you're unsure, let the machine run in the BIOS for a little bit and make sure that the fans are working, everything's running, so that the temperature is not running up in high temperatures or anything like that while it's doing all this. Because if you have a improperly seated fan and you not know what you're doing, you will end up overheating during this BIOS process and it will freeze. It'll be a very bad day for you because your motherboard again will be bricked and it'll be very difficult to recover. If you have a recovery BIOS feature, you could probably recover the BIOS. But not every BIOS, not every motherboard has a recovery BIOS feature. I don't think this one does. Most of the less expensive motherboards will not. The more expensive the motherboard may have a BIOS flashback utility where you could load a BIOS onto it, but you will need another computer for that to work. Now, this is a normal reboot process. When we reboot going through a BIOS update, it may turn on and off a few times. Just leave it, don't touch it until it gets back to a screen, which will be very shortly when it wants to. There we go. All right, you want to go back. See, it's already loading Windows 11. I don't want that. All right. Let me just exit for a second. I want to go back to the BIOS because I want to make sure all the settings are correct first. So I'm exiting the setup and I'm just going back into the BIOS by hitting the delete key on the keyboard, rapidly hitting the delete key. And we're here. So now, the fast way of this, you could see that this is just kind of an overall like overview. You can already see that FTPM 2.0 is already enabled down the bottom right. I don't know if my mouse is here. My mouse is gone. All right, well, that's always fun. Let me go back to the more complicated look. Or we froze. Should we freeze? I didn't like that. Let's reboot. Oh, my keyboard. My keyboard unplugged. How did I do that? That was me. All right, there we go. No. We're locking up. Well, let's reboot. One more time. Let's also go into... Maybe unplug my mouse. Maybe my mouse is having a problem. Or maybe the USB is having a problem. Let's check. Just the keyboard. I don't know why it's not liking this keyboard. Too fancy. Try another USB port. Did I miss something? Nope, didn't miss anything. Why is this locking up? Is this locking up, or is this maybe my... This could be my keyboard. Sometimes it doesn't like this fancy keyboard for no reason. No, it didn't lock up because I just turned that off. So it just really doesn't like my keyboard. Let's try the fancy mouse. Oh, wait a minute. I plugged in the mouse, not the keyboard. Oh, God darn it. That's what happens when you have too many black cables. All black cables and all nothing else. There we go. Okay, so it didn't like my mouse. For whatever reason, didn't like my mouse. Typical. All right. So we're going to go into the advanced mode, which is F7. We're going to go to settings. We're going to go to system status. We're going to check the time again, because sometimes the time resets, which it looks like it's fine, I think. Is that chat going? Yeah, the chat's going. Okay. DMI information. That's just going to tell you all the garbage that you don't need to know. Go to advanced. Just double check everything. Make sure that nothing looks funny or out of place. And usually that means not going crazy on changing any of these settings, really. I'm just going to look for the one that basically I need to change, which I usually turn off the serial connection if there is a serial port. And that's just for security purposes as well as other purposes, but you can just turn it off. RAID configuration, we're not using. Integrated configuration, we're just going to double check. I usually make sure PEG is still on, even if it's integrated video. PEG is just basically the PCI Express port. The IGD, which is integrated graphics display, that you could turn it to that, but if you put a graphic card in, then it won't go to that graphic card. So I like to leave it the other way just in case. RAM-wise, we're just going to share 128 megs of memory, and I like to lock that down. You can put it on multi-monitor if you want to know if somebody's going to hook up two monitors to this. If you're going to hook up two monitors to a computer, I'd recommend putting a graphic card in at that point. The integrated display, using it with the graphics that are on the processor, it's not very high powered, so it's probably not going to handle that too well. USB, just leave it normal. Super IO, this is the serial port I'm talking about. Just turn that garbage off. Don't need it. Power management setup, just, yeah, fine. Just leave it. UEFI, of course, that is the way you want to go. You don't want the old one. Secure erase, we don't have to worry about that. Self-test, we don't have to worry about that. MSI driver test utility installer, turn that garbage off because you don't want it to install drivers that you don't need. Secure erase is just if you want to erase your hard drive quickly from the BIOS, you can do that. This drive is already erased, so we don't need to do that. Boot options, we're going to just quickly check the boot options, full screen, go to BIOS, go to BIOS. That's new. I don't think that's necessary. That actually would probably drive people nuts. That's if you hold your power button for 4 seconds on the boot up, it'll automatically go to the BIOS. Yeah, I see that becoming a problem. Let's not do that. Boot and unlock, post beep disabled. Yeah, we don't need to make things. Fast boot should be enabled if you're using Windows 11. It does help. MSI fast boot, that's a little different. It'll skip like the rechecks on things. I recommend you leave that disabled for now just to make it, you know, compatible. Change the boot order. I'm going to change on to a USB flash drive, which I just unplugged. What did I just do with it? Did I just lose my mind? Oh, it's underneath the cords here. I'm going to plug my flash drive back in. I'm going to plug it into a USB 3.1 slot. We want USB, I think it's USB hard disk is the one we want really. And then everything else we want to disable, just so we know where we're booting from. After you load Windows 11, it'll automatically change your boot order to the hard drive that you put in. So it'll automatically change this for you. You won't have to do that. Hit escape. Escape one more time. OC settings, that's overclock settings. Probably shouldn't mess with this, but if you want, we'll just go into it for a quick second. And we're not going to change anything. We're just going to leave this the way it is. If you want to change this, be careful. This could damage your processor if you don't know what you're doing. Let me check memory settings. XMP profile 1. Oh, okay. I thought this was... maybe it is an overclock. Did they put in an overclock? Advanced DRAM. Yeah, I wouldn't mess with this. I would just leave this alone. If you want to do overclocking, you can. This processor doesn't do really overclocking anyway, so... Hit escape back out. You want to go back to settings for a second, save and exit. Save and reboot. If you want, you could also press F10, saves and reboots. I'm going to go back in the BIOS just to make sure that that boot drive is showing up properly, that we're showing up with that proper USB boot drive. I'm going to plug my mouse back in because that doesn't make any sense. But settings, boot. Yep, it's showing correctly. So it's showing the UEFI. I have a Samsung drive on that, and it's booting, so it's fine. So we're going to exit back out without saving. I'm going to plug my mouse back in so we have proper mice and keyboard. I'm plugging it to a different USB port. Maybe it just didn't like that one or something. My mouse is working, yay. Okay, so Windows 11 setup. We're going to hit next on this. We're going to install now. It's going to ask for a product key. I'm not going to put a product key in because we're live, and I'm not going to give you guys my customer's product key. So I'm going to say I don't have a product key for right now. It's going to ask what version of Windows we're loading. In this case, we're loading Windows 11 Pro, not the N edition, just the regular one. They do have a bunch of different ones on here for different workstations. We have a Windows 11 Pro license, so that's the one we're going to be using. Accept the agreement because you had no choice. I usually choose custom, don't upgrade, because there is nothing to upgrade. I don't understand why that's even an option. It's probably going to tell you can't do it. Now it's going to find the hard drives. If you have 2 hard drives, be very careful at this point, because if you have a data drive that has data on it, it will erase that drive. In this case, we don't have any data. We only have 1 drive, so we're going to just select that 1 drive. If you are unsure before you begin, stop and go back, unplug the other drive that has data on it, and then load off the one that you want to have the drive on. I recommend that you only keep 1 in the system during the loading process just to keep it simple. It's It's going to install. At this point, if you don't want a Microsoft account, you have to create a disk that allows it not to have that option. So you're going to need, you need to download the ISO, and then I think today we used Rufus, and Rufus gives you the option of allowing you to create an account without having to create a Microsoft account. You can just create a local user account. That you would check off before you do that. When this is done, I'll go through that quick loading process. It's not that hard, and you just need a flash drive to do it. It's nothing really complicated. All of that stuff is available and online for free. You can just download it and create the flash drive. This takes a minute. Come on. Okay, it's going to try to install updates that there's no internet, so it's not going to do that. It's going to skip it. Restart. At this point, the BIOS should have already picked up that Windows 11 was on there, so it's going to now switch it over to the internal NVMe drive to boot off of, not the USB flash drive. If it does boot to the flash drive again, you'll see that Windows installation again. You'll want to unplug it like it just did, which it did the wrong thing. It made a liar out of me. All right. So what you're going to have to do is you're going to go back to the BIOS. So you're going to unplug that flash drive also, but you're going to go back to the BIOS and you're going to set up the proper drive to boot from. So what I'm doing is just hitting the delete key to go back into the BIOS. Okay. You're going to go to settings, you're going to go to boot. You're going to change it from UEFI USB flash drive to UEFI hard disk Windows boot manager. Then you're going to push escape, save and exit, and reboot. And now it should boot to the main drive. You still need your flash drive if you have your drivers loaded on it. I have the drivers loaded on here, so we're just going to load up from there. Now, it shouldn't ask me for a Windows account. We're going to see if this works. If it does ask me for a Windows account, I have another workaround that we can get around that. I don't know why Microsoft insists of us getting a stupid Microsoft account. I think it's dumb. I think it's really stupid that we have to do all this. Apple's no better. They require you an Apple ID. So I guess it's kind of the same garbage that we're always dealing with. This is getting ready. Come on. Oh, by the way, you may want to check your hard drive light. Make sure your hard drive light's working, which I'm just doing really quickly. That is correct. And the reset button I already tested. That worked fine. I also recommend that you do plug into these USB ports after you get the operating system going and making sure that the front ones do work. The front panel audio usually works anyway. Most people don't use it anyway, it's garbage. But it is there. Any day now. I thought Windows 10 was a long time to load. Windows 11 is so much longer, it feels like. All right, just a moment. 2 moments ago. Come on. All right, so this is the nice little fancy Windows 11 setup here. All right, we choose your country, United States. Is this the right keyboard? I sure hope so. Do you want to add another keyboard? No. Okay, we're not connected to an internet. I'm just going to say I don't have internet because I'm lying, but we do have internet, but I don't want to create a Microsoft account. So I want to continue with limited setup. I'm okay with that. And we're just going to create a user, which it already did for me because I already set it up in the XML file that I created from Rufus. Give me a percent and a progress bar any day. I hate when they do this. I don't know how long this is going to take. It says a few minutes, but what's a few minutes? 5 minutes? 10 minutes? 90 minutes? Who knows? By the way, this is an i3 processor. This is a little slower processor than we normally are. This is a little less expensive a computer. I recommend if you're going to do anything with games or even higher end stuff, get a little bit better processor than an i3. You'll probably want to go like i5 or an i7, and go probably 13th gen also. This is 12th gen. It's a little bit further back, but if you want to save a little bit of money, you could still go 12th gen too. More like a lot of minutes. Yeah, it should say a lot of minutes. It says it's almost there, like, you know, right. All right, so Windows 11 boots up, wonderful. Someone retracted their own, okay. More like a lot of minutes. All right, so when Windows 11 boots up, not a lot of people like this design. It's got the stupid start bar right in the middle. It's kind of annoying. If you want to change this, you can right click the start bar, hit taskbar settings, and then just change the taskbar behaviors, I think it is. Yes, taskbar behaviors, and then you change from center back to left, and that'll bring everything back to the left side. We're probably going to set things up more like Windows 10 because this user has been familiar with Windows 10. I'd like to try to make it as friendly as possible to go back to that so we don't get so many support calls of like, where did this go? Where did that go? It makes it a lot easier. We can also turn off the chat, the widgets, because that's garbage. And the task view we'll probably leave on, but we're going to turn off search because the search doesn't work right anyway, so it's horrible. We will probably load Chrome really quickly. At this point, we can plug back the internet in, which we're going to do really quick. I'm just going to plug the Ethernet port back on. Boop. And it should come up eventually. Now, this is another thing. I might have to load the drivers. I don't know if it'll just pick it up on its own. We shall see. It did pick up the Ethernet on its own, so we'll just... no, we don't need the data. Just continue, whatever. All right, so we're just going to go to google.com/Chrome. They want Chrome, so we're just going to put Chrome in. No, we don't need to help Google track our garbage. Run this. Oh, it's up I'm in the wrong corner. There we go. So we downloaded it. There we go. Just run that. Oh, it's installing all the garbage. We're gonna have to run the cleanup. We have a cleanup script, by the way. That cleanup script is free online. You can download it. It does work for Windows 11. We're gonna probably make some changes to it for Windows 11 because there's some more additions. But that's the taskbar. Let me just load up the cleanup garbage. Google Chrome's icon did not come in. Lovely. Oh, it didn't set it default either. Set default. Really? Set default. Wow, it set HTML, but not PDF. Wow, that is screwy. Yeah, Chrome. Why would I? Wow. Microsoft, you are a piece of work. Oh, that one's okay. Really? Mail, all right, mail is fine. It didn't set all of the options. Ooh. Oh, it's probably loading drivers. Yeah, I forgot I connected to the internet. Choose defaults. Really? Oh, you are a pain. Oh, it decided to update. Okay. Fine. Fine. Go back. Okay, it wants to install all the drivers. It's already downloading everything. It's like it just didn't really give me an option. It just decided to do what it wants to do like it normally does. I'm gonna load the other drivers. I did download drivers, so I'm gonna just copy my whole driver folder here. Copy, paste. By the way, the new copy and paste, that's the icon there. If you want the old menu, you have to go to show more options, which is dumb, but it's there. Copy process got a little bit faster on this. Drivers. Okay, so I got my little lovely disk of crap, so I'm just going to take my bloatware, move this, and copy this. Actually, I'm going to cut that. Oh, I'm still not used to this new, the new icons and stuff. It's horrible. New folder. I'm just going to call it V1. I like to put my scripts everywhere. I just like to have it on the main part of the drive. We also have some backgrounds that are cool, so we're going to do that. Because these other backgrounds suck. Alright. That's done. And then we got drivers, so we're going to extract all the drivers. Extract all. Yay. Do one at a time. Set up chipset. Go, go, go. Accept. It's pretty much next, next, next. I mean, this really is that simple. Let me go back to drivers. Restart leader. You probably should restart between all of these if you want. You don't have to. If you have an error, then restart between each one, because then most likely one of the drivers has a problem. And that'll help you eliminate that issue. Auto run. Sure. Install drivers. Either look for an auto run or a setup, whichever one is there. Next, install. During this time, it's probably going to disconnect you from the internet a few times because obviously we're loading the network card driver. So it's going to do that. Chipset might do it also. RTST, RST. Rapid storage. That's okay. Yes. I know it's safe. Let's close that. Okay, doesn't need this one. Okay, that's why. All right, we're not using that. Serial IO, extract. If you're not using the RAID driver, you may not need that. You may not need the Intel management utility. That's usually for RAID, but sometimes the driver needs to be loaded. Some motherboards don't need it. If it doesn't need it, don't load it. Let's go back. VGA. It's going to make a lot of folders. Just, yeah, once you're done getting all this in and rebooting, then you can delete all these folders. You don't need all this stuff sitting on the drive. VGA. Install it. And begin installation. You have to scroll to agree. No, we don't need a clean install. It's fine. It's a clean machine already. If you have a driver that's already previously loaded, like if you have the wrong graphic card driver, do a clean install because then it'll erase all the other drivers that are there. It won't erase other, it won't do other it won't do other manufacturers, so you may have to go to other manufacturer sites to get rid of the other drivers. Or you can just go to add remove programs, get rid of it out of there. Programs and features, whatever you want to call it. And it's still installing garbage in the background, installing audio. Okay, we can close all these windows. We don't need all these windows. And we're just going to go back to our driver folder. EGA, we need the Realtek audio driver, so we can extract that. Let's just double check this. Reboot now? No, just hit finish. We'll reboot in a second and just install everything at once. It'll save some time. Not much, but it'll save some time. Setup. Go. Installing. Sure. It's gonna on it. Realtek uninstalls its other audio driver and it reinstalls the new one, which is better. So that's always a good thing. We'll do that, and we don't need that. Okay, let's do a quick reboot. Restart. Now, whatever updates were pending are going to obviously still install. So you don't have to wait for every update to go. Just, you know, obviously at this screen you can't really do much, but you'll let it update, you let it reboot, and then you're going to do all the rest of the updates. You should also install your product key. And I'm going to run a quick script to get rid of all the junk. Oh, more updates. Okay. All right. I don't know why. All right, it wants to put a password in. We'll just... Yeah, the password 123 is not a good password, right? Don't worry about the password. I mean, you should put a password for your own system. It's obviously 1-in-1, so that's okay. It's still not a Microsoft account, at least, because if you have to go through a Microsoft account, you got to sign up online. Then you got to go through all that hell, and then it's tracking you all the time. I don't know why this is doing a double. All right. Oop. Oh, I was trying to install Teams. God darn it! I hate Microsoft. Is the minute you connect to the internet, it's a nightmare. It literally just wants to like download everything in the world. I really find this aggravating. You'll have like Spotify and Microsoft Office. Like Microsoft Office might be beneficial, but it, you know, the version they install is not that great. So yeah, it's a real problem. Ugh. Doesn't matter. Okay. At this point, we're going to run that script a little bit. So let's do Windows PowerShell. Let's run it as administrator. Time is of course wrong because it put me into the wrong time zone, by the way, but we're going to fix that in a minute. It's going to be 1. By the way, what I'm just doing is I'm just typing in some of the name of the folder and then I'm pushing tab. Tab will automatically fill in the rest for you, so you don't have to type that. And then what we're going to do is we're going to type out how to run the script, because there's a command there and I don't remember it offhand. You can highlight, right click again to copy and paste. We're going to say all, and then we're going to do ampersand, and we're going to do remove, which is our remove bloatware PS1, which is our script that we made, and enter. And it's going to start removing all the garbage that Microsoft just installed. Hopefully removing everything. I like to leave the script on there. You might see some errors. That's okay. The errors are just missing errors, or maybe that package is not found. That's okay. Just, you can ignore that. But it's going to remove a lot of the installed apps here. So now we're kind of down to just stupid shit like the Clipchamp, which I got to add that one to the script. And Microsoft News I got to add to the script because that's annoying. OneDrive. The OneDrive never removes even if you remove it from the panel. I don't understand why like I have to go this way. Microsoft Teams is another one I got to add to the list. Because not everybody wants Teams. In fact, most people don't. And Microsoft To Do. By the way, you could reload all these things by going back into, you know, Quick Assist. This is new. Alright, I got to really change up that script because we're missing a few things. And there's an Xbox one. Seriously? I thought I got rid of all the Xbox in my scripting. I got rid of most of it. Yeah, I need to change it up a little bit for Windows 11. Our script still was written for Windows 10, but it does get rid of even the telemetry service. It got rid of, you know, it repost that. Probably it's going to come back anyway, but let me just double check here. Spotify is still in here. I think that's just the icon. Yeah, that's just the icon because that went way too quick. So just hit on install, even if it's not there. ESPN, seriously. Like, not everybody. Oh, see, now that wasn't really installed, but I clicked it and it started installing. Wow. Anyway, doesn't get rid of the icons, but Edge we don't need. Did I say unpin? Pinned it. Microsoft Store. Photos. Sorry, I'm using my left hand. It's a little weird. Photos. No. Paint. No, I don't really need paint either. Unpin. We don't want to delete it though. Notepad they can use. File Explorer they can use. Calculator, yeah, clock. That's fine. We don't need this. All right, now, obviously the time is wrong, so you want to set the time zone really quick. Actually, I want to edit the power plan also. Totally off topic. I just want to go back to here. I want to put this up to high performance because that's going to take forever if we don't do that. Power settings, I like to turn off the hard drive thing because that's stupid. Just go through it really quickly. Change your settings the way you want them. I personally would like to turn everything to high powers because it's a desktop. We want performance. We're not really cared about the little bit of power it's going to require, but we do require less time to be wasted. 25 minutes for power off display, and we're good. Apply, okay, close. I want to go back to the control panel for a moment. And I want to change one more option on the power options. And what the power buttons do, I hate this thing. Turn off this fast startup. That actually isn't any faster, and it doesn't really restart the computer correctly. So just turn off that, turn off sleep. You can leave on lock. You can turn on hibernate if you want, if you have a laptop. There's no need for a desktop for that. Just turn that off. And we'll just run the updates really quickly. So we hit download and install all updates. Let it go through its thing. Oh, forgot to change the time zone, which was really the real reason why I went in here. Date and time. Change your time zone to whatever time zone you're in, which in this case, I'm in Eastern. We're going to update that. We're going to hit OK. And that is the correct time. It's a miracle. All right, it's installing. By the way, this is a trick. I don't like how that Windows 11 gives you the option to restart now, yet it's still installing other stuff down here. So just a word of advice, don't hit restart now. Just wait till everything is done because you're going to be restarting 45,000 times and you'll still never get anything installed. So let me check drivers really quick. Let's just go to Device Manager. What I did there was I right-clicked that, hit Device Manager. It looks like everything is installed correctly. Nothing is problematic. So we could get rid of this drivers folder. What I did there was I just hit Shift Delete on the keyboard so I can do a permanent delete. It skips the recycle bin. I'm going to ditch that. We're going to set our backgrounds to our logo. I think they have a 1080p monitor, so we're going to set this as the background. So this desktop background, there we go. Boop. I know this one's at least 1080p. All right, so we'll just wait for this to install. This is going to take forever. I don't think you guys want to sit here and stare at this. I think you guys have stared at me long enough. So, system's built. It's ready to go. We just have to wait for all of this to install, and then we reboot, put our product key in. I can't do that on stream, unfortunately. By the way, to put your product key in on Windows 11, it's not that hard. You just go to System and then Activation, and you enter your product key here. So you just hit Change Product Key, you pop your product key in, you activate it. When you buy a product key from online, it will come usually as a digital download at the current time, I think. But you could also buy an actual CD, DVD, I think, of Windows 11, I think. I'm not sure if they still even have that. Most of the time we buy a digital download just because nobody really cares for the DVD. We don't have a DVD. So you'll also want to rename your computer, of course. I will do that shortly. So when you go into System, you want to go through pretty much all these settings here and just make sure that you go through and set them the way you want to set them. I recommend also setting up your privacy settings the way you want them. I recommend going through here and changing all of the ones that you want off, you know, especially any tracking, which I think is under general. Some of this is garbage. This is defaultly on usually, so turn all this off if you don't want any tracking. Showing improvement lists, blah, blah, blah. You could also change this around the recommended area. I really don't like Windows 11 for this. I wish they got rid of this. But you can change the taskbar settings so that you have a different view. Taskbar behavior. Am I in the right one? Oh, start settings. I'm sorry. Start settings. In start settings, I like more pins. I don't like more recommendations or the default. The default is like 50-50 on the what you can pin and what you can recommend. I like more pins just because then you can pin up what you want. You have really just garbage recommendations down here. You can also turn off most of the recommendation features. I don't like the recently showed apps. I don't like any of this junk. For business aspects, it's just horrible. It doesn't really need to be there. I mean, for personal use, it's probably fine. But if you want also all apps, you can click all apps and it'll bring you back to kind of like your Windows 10, you know, start menu. It's kind of like that. The search on here, it's gotten better, but it's kind of still more focused on like the web stuff, and it's not really all that great. It doesn't really search here. You know, search the machine first, which is kind of stupid. File Explorer does search better within inside the machine, so if you want to search for something there, you would do that. What is this file? EUEFI. Oh, that might be the flash drive or something. All right. So this is the basic install of Windows. I mean, you could go back to some of our other videos if you want to go over like all of Windows 11 and you want to see like every privacy setting. You can go back through there and check that out. That's probably a really good idea if you want to, like, if you're just getting new to Windows 11. We do go over every privacy feature. It's a little bit crazy. This is now at this point just ready to restart. Once you see something like retry all over here, just restart, then retry it again. With Windows 11, you gotta install like and reboot a bunch of times. Windows 10 kind of did the same thing. So it's just the way it works with Microsoft. You got to do like little pieces here and there, and then it'll eventually get all the way through. But you have to just keep doing the same process over and over and over again. But that's about it for the stream. Let me jump back. Ooh, that's really big. There we go. So hopefully you guys enjoyed the stream. This is one of our system builds. We will be doing more Windows 11 system builds at this point. We will also probably be updating that script, and when we do, we'll probably do another video on that script. We do have it online available from one of our last live streams, as it was Windows 10 bloatware. So if you're interested in downloading that script, it's in that description. And if you're interested in building this system or any other systems, we always put the parts list down below with all the links to, you know, some vendors that have the products. Those are not affiliate links at the current time, so you know, we don't get any kickback or anything from them, so you're welcome to use anybody you want for purchasing hardware. You know, it doesn't make a difference if we do not get a kickback from any of those. So you're welcome to use any of those, or you can find it anywhere else. We don't recommend Amazon for parts for PCs at the current time. So, but you know, be forewarned, you sometimes don't get what you pay for. So, anyways, till the next video, I guess, we will see then. And the live stream is going to end at the current time, and I'm going to go home. All right, we'll see you guys next time. Have a great one.